what is Kanban and why Kanban? Isn't Scrum enough?
So that's the most common question I get usually. Why Kanban, or what is Kanban? First, I'll answer that question. So one thing I would like to clarify is this Kanban is not the same Kanban that Toyota production used. Toyota used in their Toyota production system in 1950s to 70s. That Kanban was for manufacturing. The Kanban we talked about, we teach in KMP1 classes, is Kanban method. This Kanban method is a way of work management, right? It's a work management method for knowledge work industry, right? When I say knowledge work is thinking work, problem solving work, creative work, right? Like the work we do in IT. So this Kanban method that we teach about, this has evolved somewhere around 2010, right? And it's mainly for knowledge work industry. So this is not the same Kanban as used by Toyota. This is mainly for IT industry. And this is not just a board and daily stand-up. It has more than that. It has principles, it has practices, it has meetings, and it has some powerful metrics, right? That answers the first question. Did I miss something, Kumkum?
No, perfect. Thank you very much, Sanjay. Thank you very much. So one more thing just related to this thing. So is there any sprints also involved in Kanban?
No, so yes, Scrum is a batch processing model, right? You pick a batch and the team tries to finish the batch before a timeline, which is a sprint. So that's called batch processing model. Kanban is a continuous flow model. If I take an example from real life, you go to movies, right? Theaters, or whenever the COVID opens, you probably will start going again. So that's a batch processing model. You have a 3-hour show. You pull a batch of, 300, 400 people, everybody goes in there, and people will not enter in the middle of it, right? So that's more like a time box. But if you go to a restaurant is more like a continuous flow. People keep coming, they keep having the food and keep leaving. So Kanban is more like that. It's a continuous flow kind of model. Work would keep coming. Of course, you will have some discipline around, when to pull work and when to maybe push it out to production. But overall, it's a continuous flow model.
Perfect. Sanjay, thank you very much. I have a couple of more questions for you. But before my questions, I just wanted to give the opportunity to Abhishek and Seema if you have any questions. So Abhishek, I think you have something. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, thank you, Kumkum. So adding to the last question, where to use Kanban? Do you have any typical cases to understand better, like where we can use Kanban? These days we are seeing people, IT industry more into the Agile and Scrum. So how to?
Sure. Yeah, so that's one of the most common questions people ask me, why Kanban? I think Kumkum, you also asked that in the first question. Why Kanban or when to use Kanban? That's the question people have. Now, in reality, what happens is people explore Kanban only when Scrum is not working for them. By default, most companies, most teams start their journey with the assumption that Agile is equal to Scrum, right? They use Scrum, and when Scrum doesn't work, they go to Kanban. And the most common situation there is when there's a dynamic flow of work. For example, support kind of projects, right? Support or operations, where the team doesn't know today what work they will be working on over the next 2 weeks. And if they do not know what work they have to work on over the next 2 weeks, they say we can't do sprint planning. So Scrum model does not work there, and people go to Kanban. But just because Kanban works in that case doesn't mean Kanban cannot work for other cases. So I've used Kanban, for example, for startups, right? I've used Kanban for teams that are coming directly from waterfall to Agile. So in my view, Kanban can work for any kind of project. It has wider applicability, right? It has wider applicability. It can be used for wherever Scrum can be used. Plus, it can also be used for where Scrum cannot be used. And again, to answer your question, Abhishek, typical use cases are, of course, operation support projects. Second is some exploratory work like data science or research. We can use Kanban over there. We can use Kanban for product development also. As I mentioned, I've used it for multiple startups. We can use Kanban also for our team, which has a mix of work, development work plus support work. We can use Kanban for non-IT projects also, like marketing, HR, something else. So basically any kind of knowledge work, right? Not manufacturing, any kind of knowledge work, we can use Kanban method.